done, and runs back to mom and has a cuddle with mom. Okay, now let me just go out a little bit further. In our family, this is the relationship between Augie and me and my husband. So my husband is called Grandpa Boot because he has big hiking boots, and he's the exciting, amazing, strange person who makes weird animal noises and tosses Augie up in the air, and Augie loves him, is completely fascinated by him, but you'll watch he kind of goes out, does weird things with Grandpa Boot for a little while, and then turns around and says, Gram Gram, runs back to Gram Gram, never does anything interesting with Gram Gram. All he does is hug Gram Gram, and then once he's had a little boring hugging, then he says, okay, now we should go out and do the interesting stuff. So that was Bowlby's picture about attachment. And what Bowlby suggested was that there were these phases of attachment during infancy. In the earliest phase, this early phase of between birth and 3 weeks, the babies were actually producing innate signals, like crying, for example, that brought other people to them and made them take care of them. So babies' cry is, incredibly motivating to every adult, and if you hear a baby cry, you just can't stand it until you've actually done something to make the baby stop crying. But he pointed out that in the second phase, babies started to recognize that instead of just trying to call everybody in the world to take care of them, that there were some people who were more reliable, better, more likely to take care of you than other people, and babies would start to respond preferentially to familiar versus unfamiliar people. And then typically in the second half of the first year, children started actively seeking contact with caregivers and actively showing separation or protest or distress when the caregiver went away. We talked about this a little bit when we talked about emotion last time. And then, interestingly, that year and a half is sort of a high point of really clear attachment and separation anxiety. But through the preschool years, and in fact, arguably throughout all of life, babies are working out the attachment relationships that they have with their caregivers, and then later as adults with their other kinds of attachment figures, like their husbands or wives, people that they're close to. So by the time children are getting to be in school age, they start not just single-mindedly always fearing strangers and running to mom, they start working out a more complicated relationship between themselves and the people they're attached to. So one of Bowlby's ideas was that the babies actually developed what he called an internal working model of attachment, and that means that they had a kind of picture in their mind of the caregiver and of the relationships between the caregivers. You can think about this as being a sort of, to go back to cognitive development, it's a sort of intuitive theory of love. So they have a theory about how caregiving is going to work, what happens when they're in distress, how they're going to interact with different people, and how they should respond to those people if they want to get caregiving from those people. And this working model isn't just a working model about mom, it's a working model of all the different figures in children's lives who are caregivers. And just an important thing to say here is when this work first started, when Bowlby was first doing it and Carla was first doing it, all the emphasis was on biological moms. So a lot of the original work was done with moms. But one of the things that's come out of this work and other work is that babies aren't just attached to their biological moms. In fact, I think I mentioned this in this class before. The most recent evolutionary work suggests that one of the things that made human beings different from other primates was exactly that we have a much wider range of caregivers, not just moms, but dads, grandmothers, other people in the community. And the data suggests that this isn't just about moms, it's about the relationship to anybody who actually takes care of you. And one of the interesting things is that babies can develop different internal models and different relationships with different caregivers. So they kind of work out, here's the way Gram treats me, here's the way Mama treats me, here's the way Dada treats me, and all of them are caregivers, but they're all caregivers who I interact with in different ways. So that Gram, for instance, will do anything I want in any moment, whereas Dada will lay down the line about what things are possible and what things aren't possible. Now, all right, so this is all very abstract. How could you actually show evidence that children had developed these internal working models? And Mary Ainsworth was the person who established what she called the strain situation. And the strain situation is a systematic situation that you can do with babies in the end of the first year to assess what they think, what their internal model is about attachment and love. And Andrew's going to show some clips from some of these strain situations next time. But the basic structure of this strain situation is the same. The child left by the caregiver, so there's a caregiver and a child. The caregiver leaves, the stranger comes into the room and tries to interact with the child, and then the caregiver comes back again, and then the child and the caregiver's behavior is assessed. And it turns out that actually the most important discriminative part of this is what the child does when the caregiver returns. So when it comes to how distressed, this is kind of interesting, when it comes to how distressed the child is when the caregiver leaves, that's actually quite variable. And it depends on things like, for instance, children who are in childcare are less distressed when caregivers leave than children who are not in childcare because they know that the caregiver is going to come back again. So there's a lot of variation in that first piece. Again, children who have more acquaintance with more different people are less bothered by strangers than children who haven't seen a lot of other people. But the really crucial thing is what happens when the mom comes back. And that's where you see these really characteristic differences. And people who study attachment have discovered these different attachment styles. So there's about four different kinds of ways that children behave when they're placed in the situation of being separated from their caregivers. So in secure attachment, what happens is that the baby's somewhat distressed when mom leaves, somewhat fearful of the stranger, but then when mom comes back again, the baby's very happy and there's a big reunion scene. I was once coming back from the Society for Research in Child Development so that sounds like a kind of bland way of describing it. I was once coming back from the Society of Research in Child Development with my colleague Joe Campos, who's here at Berkeley. And Bunny was about 2, so I'd been away for 4 days from Bunny. We were in the car coming back to my house, and he was explaining about these attachment categories to one of the graduate students who would come back with us from the airport. So he was talking about the different categories. And as we got to the house, Bunny was actually outside on the sidewalk playing with some of his toys. He looked at me. He saw me coming from one end of the sidewalk. I got out of the car with all my bags. I threw all my bags onto the sidewalk. Bunny threw all of his toys away. He started running from one end of the sidewalk. I started running from the other end of the sidewalk. And we both threw ourselves into each other's arms and said, Mama, Mama, Mama. And I said, Bunny, Bunny, Bunny. And we were hugging, and I heard Joe Campos behind me say, that's secure attachment. So that's it's a little more dramatic than just these phrases suggest. On the other hand, in another variety of attachment, insecure, resistant, or ambivalent attachment, what happens is that the children are very upset when the caregiver leaves, but then they don't seem to be able to get over it. So even when the caregiver comes back again, instead of being really happy to see the caregiver and then going out and exploring the environment, they continue to cry. And sometimes they'll do things like hit the caregiver or push the caregiver away with one hand at the same time they're trying to pull the caregiver towards them on the other hand. We'll talk later on about the fact that these early relationships often seem to be reflected in adult romantic relationships. And you probably know people who deal with romantic relationships this way. So it's terrible, you're going to leave me, and then you come back and say, see, I knew you were going to leave me. That's kind of what the insecure ambivalent babies are like. The other next category is these insecure avoidant babies. And these are babies who, when the caregiver leaves, act as if they just don't care. So when the caregiver leaves, they actually go and play with their toys, won't look at the caregiver. And when the caregiver comes back, they are showing even more dramatically that they don't care. So they turn away from the caregiver, won't actually look at the caregiver, go off and do other things. Now, one of the saddest findings in all of developmental psychology is that if you measure the heartbeat and the skin conductance of these babies, it turns out that when the caregiver is leaving, their heart's pounding and their palms are sweaty and they're showing all the physiological signs of distress. But somehow these babies have learned, don't show that you're distressed. Don't act as if you're just indifferent and you just don't care. And again, those of you who have been in romantic relationships will probably know people who treat romantic relationships the same way. And the last category, which is actually the one that we'll see seems to be the one with the worst outcomes, is when babies have kind of disorganized or disoriented attachment. They just don't know what to do. Sometimes they cry, sometimes they're happy when the mom comes. They don't seem to have any way of dealing with the caregiver leaving. And one last thing to say is these numbers on the slide are for American middle-class infants. But in fact, there's quite a lot of cultural variability in which of these attachment patterns you see and how much of these attachment patterns you see. So for instance, in Japan, where mothers and babies tend to be together a lot early on in life, you see more of the insecure and resistant kinds of babies. In Germany, which is a culture which tends to not encourage expression of emotion, you see more of the avoidant babies. So even though we tend to think that the secure attachment is kind of the good kind, what is good or not really depends on the environment in which you find yourselves or the way that you work in a particular culture. Okay, so we see these different patterns of attachment. And Bowlby and the people who do attachment studies think that these are the result of these internal working model pictures that the babies have developed about love. But could we actually show this is true? And a fantastic experiment by Susie Johnson and Carol Dweck in 2008 actually tried to show this. You got the videos of this? Ah, okay. Check to see if they're working. Yeah, I just clicked. Well, they were working before, right? Yeah, because usually what happens is it shows you where the video is. Okay, well, I can quickly show it because I have the same ones in something I just did. Okay, so here's what they did. They used that attachment technique that we talked about so much in this class, and they showed babies sequences of events like this. So here's one of the sequences of events that the baby saw. Oops. Ah. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there's the baby doll and mama ball. The baby is crying, and then they showed the baby two different sequences after this. So here's one of the sequences that the baby saw. And here's the other sequence that the baby saw. Right, so this breaks your heart just to see this. And then in another experiment, what they did was they showed the babies these sequences at the end. Or and what they discovered was that, so remember, babies in habituation studies look longer at things that they don't expect. What they discovered was that the secure babies were more surprised and looked longer when the mother went away or when the baby went away. But the insecure and avoidant babies, the insecure babies were just the opposite. So the insecure babies were more surprised when the mom came and took care of, or at least came close to the crying baby, than they were when the mom moved away from the crying baby. And vice versa. They were more surprised when the baby moved away than, when the baby came close than when the baby moved away. So these are experiments suggest that what is happening behind these behavior patterns is that these children have different ideas about how love is going to work, about whether people are going to come when you call them or go away when you call them. And we'll talk some more about the causes and the consequences of that on Wednesday.